How about this for a lightweight main event on Saturday night? We hit you with the storylines on Wednesday. Today, we talk about what the hell is this going to look like. Rafael Dos Anjos, the former champion, 2-fight win streak, back at 155, making this weight cut work in his late 30s, still viable as shit. And he's taking on that freight train that is a 5-fight winning streak, Rafael Fiziev, the Kazakh Thunder, Luke. I said on Wednesday I expect two things: all action and a lot of violence if this goes the full 5 rounds. I watched fights from both of them this morning, Luke, because of how much you and Dominic Cruz, really implore that tape watching is essential to this job, Luke. All right, I'm coming around. All right, you old piece of... All right. Luke, when you look at this matchup, besides age and experience, what really separates these two?
Well, first things first, is he Kazakh? I thought he was Kyrgyzstani/Azerbaijani.
I thought he was born in Kazakhstan. You know what I mean,
he
Luke?
Might have been. I can't keep up with his name. I know he has.
Yeah, he was.
I know he has represented Kyrgyzstan and Azerbaijan to an extent. Okay, but the question you have...
Let me tell you, his mother was Russian. His father was Azerbaijani. He grew up in Kyrgyzstan, but he was born in Kazakhstan. So, look, he's got all the bases covered for that Russian hammer shit that we talk about. You know what I'm saying?
It's like me and you. Like, my mom was born in Syria, raised in Lebanon. My dad's American, and yet somehow you think I'm Indian. It all works out. It all works out the same.
1979, it happened, Luke. You were in those city limits, all right? It happened, okay?
It did happen. Yeah. All right. I got to tell you, I rewatched Dos Anjos' 2 wins that he had since moving back to lightweight, one against Paul Felder, who, should be noted, came in on 5 days' notice. Now, he was training for an ultra marathon or a marathon, whatever. He was doing an Ironman triathlon, I believe. And so he was in good physical condition, but who knows about his timing and his prep and everything else. And it still went to a split decision, although it seemed to me that Dos Anjos was the one that was the clear winner there. And then, of course, against Renato Moicano, who I believe also was coming in on short notice and was abused in that fight. Probably should have been stopped a lot earlier. But the thing that really stuck out to me, and then the stats sort of show this, is Dos Anjos' striking is sort of, I guess, more of what he is known for these days. But really what seals everything together is his wrestling. He uses it to break up rhythms. He uses it to slow down fights. He uses it to wear down opponents. It has a real utility. It doesn't mean he doesn't strike. He actually does a fair bit of it, a lot in the pocket. Sometimes, and I would say in general, got the better of Moicano and got the better of Felder through the course of those fights. But it's all aided and glued together by the wrestling breaks, whether they're successful or not, that he gets, and then the top control subsequently. This is, to me, the central tension in this fight. I probably believe that Fiziev, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, is an overall better, more dynamic striker. He tends to get hit a little bit more, but lands a lot more than Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos is about 3.6 strikes landed per minute, 3.24 absorbed. Fairly equal, but a slightly positive differential. 5.53 landed for Fiziev, which is high, but he absorbs 5.5. So he trades a lot more. He gets hit a lot more. The thing that hinges on me on this fight to me is takedowns. Dos Anjos is about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, right? That's about what you're going to get with him. Not quite, but almost one a round. The takedown defense for Fiziev is 95%.
Damn.
95%. He has very good takedown defense. And not just good takedown defense, BC, the ability to create separation.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to say here on this show to you that Dos Anjos can't win if he doesn't get the takedown. But what I am going to say is, if he doesn't get the takedown, the path to victory becomes significantly harder to come by.
Yeah, it becomes violent as shit, too, Luke, having to walk through those standing elbows and those hard-ass kicks. Luke, rewatching Fiziev, his destruction of Brad Riddell this morning, as I did, 3rd-round finish, I thought I saw more poise out of him than before. You broke down the statistics. Maybe he was known for getting hit a lot, and he did get hit once they both really started to open up and trade 50-50. But for a lot of that fight, I do like the evolution that we're starting to see out of Fiziev, however I'm going with this. There was more poise and setup. But, Luke, everything this brick shithouse throws is heavy. And his kicks were, you could watch them. They were moving Riddell. And, of course, that fight changed significantly after he was able to cut Riddell with that lead elbow. But this guy is crazy dangerous. And your point about the takedown defense, anytime Riddell shot, Fiziev was standing him up and just stuffing the shit out of it. This is a young lion coming on. Can RDA use the experience at 37 to create the separation between them. I don't think you're wrong. It may come down to, can he take this fight off the feet? Because you go 25 minutes with a hammer like this, even if you're getting off, you're going to have to absorb a shit ton, because inevitably Fiziev's going to stand in front of you and both of you are just going to trade on even terms. And I don't know if I like my chances if I'm RDA in that. You know what I'm saying? To go a full-on war with him, he's going to have to be crafty. He's going to have to set traps. He's going to have to do a lot. Do you think there's any element, you mentioned it, with the situation in Felder, Moicano also took that fight last minute and was maybe too brave for his own good. Is there any kind of fool's gold right now for RDA at 37 where we are overly propping him up as a, maybe possible title contender with a big win here? He does tend, look, historically, he tends to lose a couple, then maybe when your opinion starts to change, man, does he come back strong with a couple wins. Has this 2-fight win streak, does it live up to where he's actually at physically in your eyes?
Again, because you had 2 short notice opponents, it's hard to really know. And again, they're not scrubs. Paul Felder was very good when he fought, and Moicano's very good. So there is still value to them. I kind of liken it, and when I first say it, it won't make sense, so let me explain. But I kind of liken it to Aldo's move to bantamweight. Now, the reason why that wouldn't make sense is because, RDA was champion at this weight class. This is not a weight class that is unfamiliar to him. It is perhaps his best and most familiar weight class. But what I mean is, when Aldo went from featherweight to bantamweight, forget about the weight cutting issues. He appears to have those all worked out, no problem. It did kind of rejuvenate his career a little bit, but if you notice who he's beating and who he's losing to, it didn't meaningfully change his fortunes from what he was experiencing at the end of his run at 145. He could still beat good guys, but he couldn't beat Volkanovski and he couldn't beat Holloway, and so he decided to move. And going to 135 has been like, wow, look how competitive Aldo still is late, but he didn't beat a similar level of guys at bantamweight. It wasn't that he went down there and it changed the kind of fighter he was able to beat in terms of their overall ranking or divisional significance. I wonder if this return to lightweight, while in the sense of like Aldo, it's not the same because he has been here before. Listen, you go watch those fights. He looked good in them. He made good decisions. His wrestling was on point. His striking was, for the most part, on point. These were very veteran, clear performances in my mind, but it's not like he went down there and beat someone he couldn't beat before. As far as quality as those guys are. So in that sense, I do think there's a bit of a similarity to Aldo to bantamweight, however meaningful the differences are in conjunction with it. And so in that sense, did he look poor? Did he get a gifted win? Did he show you some kind of red flag? No, absolutely not. He looked dialed in. He looked like his weight was on point. His training was on point. Remember, we're not talking about it, BC. He moved back to Brazil recently. He's with Nova União. He had been in the United States for a long time. And so, pardon me, he believes he's refreshed and that this has contributed to a lot of what has happened. I take that seriously. But until he beats someone like this, right,
Yeah.
who is young, who's got great takedown defense, who's not coming in on short notice, we can't really say a whole lot about this move back to lightweight for RDA.
Yeah, his career has been a constant state of reinvention. That's part of what makes him so dynamic historically, along with, of course, being an ex-champion and having always fought the best. His resume, we've shouted it out before, both wins and losses are a freaking who's who. And look, maybe my favorite reinvention was, he brought a 5-fight win streak, RDA, into that 2014 bout with Khabib. And look, he got absolutely dominated. And then he bounced directly out of that 3 months later, stops Jason High, stops Benson Henderson, takes decisions from Nate Diaz and Anthony Pettis, and then stops Cowboy Cerrone for his second win over the fellow legend. Then has those 2 losses in which he loses the title, but comes right back, moves up to welterweight, and gets 3 straight big wins, Saffiedine, Magny, and Lawler. So it's what he does. I think I saw enough against Moicano to show you that, it's still in there, Luke. It might be a little bit of fool's gold for the circumstances of those 2 fights. But just 6 years ago, he said, trying to make weight for the title loss to Eddie Alvarez and, of course, the dominant loss to Tony Ferguson, which followed. He almost died. So to see him, find the right science and safe way to cut that and be back in this spot. Damn, is it a shout out to who he is, what he's made of. But damn, watching the tape of this 5-fight win streak for Fiziev, it's like there's nothing easy about this challenge at all. But Luke, Vegas certainly respects the legend. Our friends at Caesar, minus 220 for the younger Fiziev, but plus 180 for RDA. So we know what this is about.
All right.
5 rounds, it's going to explain a lot, and it should explain a lot, because if this is Fiziev beating a legend here, a former champ, he's going to skyrocket into the top 5. He's going to have a 6-fight win streak. You should have to go through somebody this tough over 5 rounds. Luke, if this is a stand-up fight, if RDA cannot secure the takedown, which you said was key to what he does it become a war of tradition, or do you still think RDA has a savvy in terms of how he sets up his strikes, that there's a chance he can control this fight without it becoming a war against somebody this explosive?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a war of tradition, although there might be some of that as well. But
did you say attrition or tradition, Luke?
Yeah, probably both. But here's what I would say. Again, I just think the takedown's crucial here. It's not like he has to get it like Khabib, where you can only fight in the feet for a minute. No, I don't mean that. But like if he's struggling to get it, or I would say this too, BC, pay attention to not even necessarily getting the takedown, but as we cough our way through the show like two professionals.
I mean, we are just decrepit right now. This is not.
It's pathetic. Our health is pathetic. It really is. But again, to answer the question, if he can also tangle up Fiziev along the fence line and make him work for a minute or two, that also could be impactful. Now, that's not as valuable, obviously, as getting the takedown than holding it. Not even close. But it does carry some utility. I wonder. The thing for me with Fiziev, he has so many weapons. RDA is good on the feet as a southpaw. He's got a rangy left hand. Obviously, we know about his kicks from the left side. They're brutal, and he puts them all together. But Fiziev, while he does accept a little bit more of a dangerous situation at times, much more powerful. And although RDA is powerful with his kicks, but much more powerful, let's say, with Fiziev's boxing. Dude, much more, frankly, in that space, athletic, much more explosive, quick. Like, he can just do a lot there. I don't know how RDA is going to hold up to that. But again, it's to what extent can RDA mix in either takedowns and or other forms of wrestling entanglement that could give Fiziev problems, slow him down. I just think if you let Fiziev have a kickboxing match with you in 4-ounce gloves, it's going to be very hard to win. But if you can slow him down, make him work, press him up against the fence, just find a way to slow down the fight so that your offense can come much more naturally behind it, that is a very winnable path. I do believe that. It's just a really open question if he's going to be able to do that. So I guess we're going to have to see. This is a real test, as you put it, real test of who RDA is at 37, back at 155.